So, I know probably everybody in this room knows someone that's had cancer, and at least some of you probably have had people that were in your family or that you knew that had died of cancer. I'm going to talk a little bit about pancreatic cancer this morning as an unmet medical need and my solution to the potential therapy of that cancer. So there's 44,000 new cases of pancreatic cancer every year, 37,000 of them die. It takes about 6 months to die for the average patient. It's quick. There's no therapy. The standard of care for pancreatic cancer is gemcitabine. You go into an infusion suite, get an IV in your arm, maybe a new one, and you have gemcitabine administered to you, and then you go home, you don't feel too well for a couple days. It doesn't work. Tumors become resistant to it, and there's really nothing that the physician is able to do. If you can cut it out, you might have a chance of curing the patient, but most pancreatic cancer patients present too late for that. So it's an unmet medical need. Gemcitabine, when it works on the cancer, introduces death of the cancer cell by signaling through the mitochondria, which is an organelle in the cell. The resistance that develops very rapidly to that is upstream of the mitochondria. So what is our solution to this problem? We have developed a positively charged small molecule ceramide drug that targets the mitochondria of pancreatic cancer cells directly. It bypasses the resistance and is able to induce cell death in the pancreatic cancer cell, even if the cell has become resistant to gemcitabine. In point of fact, in the laboratory, we have been able to show that this drug is even more able to kill the pancreatic cancer cell when it becomes resistant to gemcitabine, and we think we know why, even because this drug is targeted to the mitochondria of the pancreatic cell by virtue of the fact that the mitochondria of these cancer cells are much more negatively charged. And so the positively charged molecule goes to the cell, goes to this negatively charged region in the cell, and then kills the cell by standard mechanisms. So we are a virtual company at the moment out of the Medical University of South Carolina. The market for cancer therapy is enormous. It's $80 billion roughly. I know you're aware of drugs like Avastin, which cost about $100,000 a year. I know you're probably aware, some of you at least, that some of these drugs now are being taken away from the insurance companies with respect to, for example, breast cancer. So there's an enormous market out there for this. What we would like to do is develop our lead drug for pancreatic cancer. We would like to get it into a phase 1 or phase 2 clinical trial, and we would like for it to be successful in treating the pancreatic cancer patient and be purchased by Big Pharma. We have 4 more molecules in the pipeline that are directed at different aspects of cancer therapy, again dealing with the ceramide metabolic pathway, the sphingolipid pathway, and if we were able to sell our drug to Big Pharma, we would then have proceeds enough to proceed with development of the other drugs, unless Big Pharma chose to package them all. Our current status is we have funding from the NCI as a program project. We have funding from the NCI as an STTR. We got our IRS stimulus package, compliments of the government in Washington. First thing I ever got from the IRS. Who are we? We're a group of basic scientists at MUSC, academics. We also have a business person in the form of David Hazelwood, who's in Texas, who is an MBA from Berkeley. He's done many deals in the sector. Our competition is Apogee, LPath, Novartis, but they don't really compete in our area. We have essentially no competition directly in our area. We're looking for $2.56 million to take our first drug through the clinical trial, phase 1 clinical trial. We have not chosen a CRO to do this yet, but we have some opportunities, particularly one called Fast2Cure in Australia, which is a company that can do it very rapidly. Just to give you a small example, small drug companies, for example, Cougar, okay, high risk, high reward.
Chip, really?
Chip.
I have to recuse myself.
I just want to go right to the point. Clearly, there's a market need. Clearly, you have competition. But could you speak more to the pricing of this? Because you spoke about how expensive drugs are.
Absolutely. The typical infusion suite sojourn for a pancreatic cancer patient is between $60,000 and $80,000. They have to go into the clinic, they have to have an IV put in, they have to have the drug, they have to have it in a scheduled set of ways. We would do something very similar, most likely, in terms of delivery. That is actually to be determined because it could be that this drug might be bioavailable orally as well, which would reduce the cost substantially, but we don't know that, and we tried some experiments on that, but we really need a medicinal chemist to tell us if we can do that or not, and some clinical activity to do that as well. So somewhere between $50,000 and $80,000 for a course of therapy for the drug.
You mentioned that you have NCI grants as well as an STPR, which is a really good start because a lot of investors and others use those as surrogates for the validity of the
Right.
concept. Was your STPR phase 1? Have you applied for phase 2?
Phase 1, we're about to submit a phase 2 in April 5th of this coming year. That's not on this drug, however. That's on one of our other drugs.
I got you. And have you begun to cultivate investors who specialize in this space?
Actually, I was one of the 16 companies invited to present at SE Bio last week in Durham, Raleigh, Durham. I presented. I didn't win one of the final 4 slots, but I still got an opportunity to speak to a bunch of VCs. We've got interest from Caliber, from MedImmune, Cato.
Those are brand names. That's good.
Right.
That's a good start.
Nobody's stepped up yet, though. They hand me the cash.
Yeah, that takes longer.
And you mentioned these other drugs that you're working on. What do you really see as being the time horizon here?
The
How
second,
quickly can you get
sure, the second drug we're really working on, the first drug, the one for pancreatic cancer, is probably going to even be capable of being an orphan drug because of the actual low numbers of patients, relatively speaking. I mean, 44,000 might sound like a large number, but compared to lung or breast or prostate, it's small. Our second drug will be targeted for head and neck cancer, for prostate cancer, for lung cancer, for liver cancer, melanoma, a couple of blood cancers, so the market suddenly becomes gigantic.
My bigger question is timeline. How long have you been working on it? How long do you envision this
So
process?
we have been a company for just a couple of years, and remember, we're virtual. We rent space from Mr. Hood and the University of South Carolina, although that's not particularly operational anymore. If we get our STPR phase 2, we'll go down to probably the Meeting Street facility or some other place to carry out the research. We've been working on these drugs at the academic level for 10 years. So we actually have a lot of basic science done. What I really need now is the CRO, manufacturing, move it to the patient. Translation.